Hey everyone, this is Gleb Bakhmutov, and today I'll show a nice testing trick for Cypress end-to-end testing. Sometimes I take perfectly simple application code like this local storage loader. In this case, it's a quick framework, but doesn't really matter. And the way the application is using it, it gets a signal where it uses the local storage and loads the key history, and that's how it gets the history of games, which is in our test loads right here. So I'm testing a loading element right here. When we visit the history, it says loading, and then it goes away, and the two games are present. The thing is, it flashes really quickly, and sometimes it goes by so quickly, maybe on CI it won't be rendered because it loads quickly before application draws, and it's just a pain to test. So here's what we can do. We can go into the application local storage handler where it loads it right here. So it gets it from a local storage using getItem method call. Instead of synchronous call, we can do the following. We can say promise resolve, and we can pass to getItem, and this will actually return the current item, and we will set it on the signal. And this might look weird. We're slowing down our application code by like one asynchronous tick because we're going through a promise. Why would we do that? Well, it won't break anything, right? Or at least it shouldn't. Let's see our test. Okay, runs the same way, loading the games, gets the games, shows the games. But now we can do the following trick because the SciWindow object is accessible from end-to-end tests. So let me just move this to the side. The code editor is right here. And what I will do, I'll say window, let's just directly say then win. We can say, okay, why don't we stop Windows local storage? We can give it an alias, and we can say with args history, we can say resolves and just specify the games. Usually we just set them in the local storage, but we can just say whenever someone calls local storage get item with an argument history, just give them this list of games. And that works the same way, but our stub was now called. And because in JavaScript, if you pass a promise to promise resolve, it will just wait for that promise and resolve that value. So it kind of handles both direct simple value and a promise. Perfect. Now we can do the following because we don't have to simply resolve it. We can say the following. We can use Cypress promise because these are Bluebird promises. And we can say resolve and just wrap the value. And it works the same way. Okay, so instead of value, we pass a promise with a value, and promise resolve handles that just the same. Perfect. And Bluebird promises have a lot of utility methods, so instead of resolving it with a value right away, we can use a built-in delay feature, right? That will delay resolving of that promise by 1 second, and all of a sudden, our application clearly shows the loading page or loading element, and after 1 second it's gone. So pretty simple to write end-to-end tests that simulates delayed loading. And this prepares it very well for cases when our storage is not local storage anymore, but instead maybe it goes to the backend or to third-party API and gets the value from there. We're testing it and asynchronous effects and the timing pretty well. There is subtle bug though here, because the loading of data kicks off immediately as the page loads. So now we have a race condition. Is it going to be local storage get item that executes in our application code first, or our SciWindow and then SciStub And sometimes on CI, our test code might have to, maybe it will be delayed by a few milliseconds, and the application code executes first, which means we'll get the original item without any Cypress promise stops. We can maybe speed up our thing because we know that site visits yields a window object, so we can use this, but this still can have a race condition. So the most reliable way is to use onBeforeLoad parameter to site visit, where you get the window object before application code runs at all. Okay, so we can move it right here. So what we're doing, we're visiting the page, the window object gets created, onBeforeLoad is called, so we stop the local storage getItem method with an argument history. Then the application code starts loading and executing. So for sure, by the time the local storage executes this getItem, it has been stopped. One other thing, just really quickly, we can do more complex steps. For example, this page that prepares for a game, it needs multiple pieces of information. And in this case, for example, we are setting multiple pieces like teams and players. So we only want to stop the players key, which means that we're calling on the stop call through that allows, if it's called with something other than players, to actually call the real method, and only when it's called with players, then it resolves with our delayed promise value. Okay, so you can be very flexible about how you stop those asynchronous calls. So pretty powerful stuff. In Cypress. Everything is built in. The Synon, the assertions, the Bluebird promises, and they work very nicely together.